Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
It was the end of an era that many people blamed on television.
This is what the war in Vietnam is all about.
Every building in this university will be closed down to mount a continuing struggle against the racist, imperialist
Violence is a part of America's culture. It is as American as cherry pie. American toast of black.
War in Vietnam keeps on a-raging. Blacks and whites still haven't worked it out. CBS would like to give us notice, and some of you don't like the things we say.
After a 30-year romance with the tube, the love affair was over, and viewers raced to the telephones to let us know.
I know they called CBS one time the Communist Broadcasting Station. You had to be red, white, and blue all the way, and don't disagree with them, I suppose.
But soon the battle lines were no longer so clearly defined. 1974, for the first time in the station's history, Channel 2 went to the Middle East to bring you a first-hand look at the uneasy settlement after the Yom Kippur War.
Surrounded by barbed wire and soldiers and machine gun emplacements, a group of New York area people have been building a new life for themselves. I talked with Becky Goldstein, formerly of Teaneck, New Jersey.
Should sovereignty change because of some sort of an agreement arranged between Egypt and Israel, would you remain?
I don't believe that would be a reality, so I don't really think I would have to worry about it.
But back in the States, with Vietnam and Watergate behind us, New Yorkers look forward to a brighter future.
And when New York City now asks the rest of the country to guarantee its bills, it can be no surprise that many other Americans ask why.
Once again, it took a New Yorker to sum it up.
Well, the world. The world out there, kid, ain't up to no good, okay? You don't trust nobody out there except for your own coin. And you remember that.
Even our situation comedies express the frustration of tougher times.
Good evening. At an East Harlem branch of the Chase Manhattan Bank, an attempted holdup.
1971. Chris Bogan is one of the first television reporters drawn into a hostage negotiating situation.
The two remaining suspects were still inside the bank with about 40 hostages. They wanted to surrender, so they asked for me and an unarmed patrolman as mediators.
Let me understand this. They're asking that I come to that...
You. They mentioned you by name. And one patrolman, we're trying to get a hold of him.
All right.
They must know the cop. They probably know you. To come to the door, and they say they'll come out and surrender. Now, it's up to you what you
I will go to that door.
You will. All right. And where do you get the...
Did they want me because they knew me? Did they want me because they had seen me on television? Did they want an objective person to come in and act as an arbitrator for them? I was scared. I don't, to this day, see myself ever going to that bank without being frightened. I was frightened for myself, I was frightened for the others, and I was frightened that I would not be able to do that which would be demanded of me once I was in that bank.
During the long wait and negotiations, the gunmen released some of the hostages. Inside, the gunmen, convinced they would not be harmed, finally surrendered their guns and agreed to be handcuffed. And we all came out.
It was a far cry from the earliest days when stations relied on newsreels for their footage.
There was no reporting going on in the sense that we accept, in the sense that we take for granted now. Nobody asked. Not only did nobody ask embarrassing questions or probing questions, they didn't ask any questions.
Mike, I got questions for you.
Excuse me. Can you tell me, huh?
Don't you see an ambulance is trying to get through?
No. What is it?
It's not just the questions which may be embarrassing, but the answers which can reveal uncomfortable truths.
I didn't want to show disloyalty or distrust for him, so I didn't call.
In 1988, a little girl's death brought national attention to the horrors of child abuse, drugs, and madness among the middle class. As the trial and nightmare unfolded, Channel 2, in an unprecedented move, preempted regular programming to bring you 21 hours of live courtroom testimony.
She was at about 2.
Then we cracked the story that divided a community. Tawana Brawley.
Who saw her that week?
Our reporting made some people angry, but Channel 2's Mike Taibbi and Anna Phillips were proven to be right. The first TV journalists to unravel that tangled story, separating reality from rhetoric.
Those two significant holes in Tawana's story suggest one conclusion. Tawana Brawley lied.
Our responsibility is to report the story. Your responsibility is to read the story. But you have a responsibility which is greater than that, and that is to keep me on my mark. If I report a story inaccurately, let me know it. If it is incomplete, let me know it. If I have failed you, let me know that too. And if I continue to fail you, turn me off. In the final analysis, we exist as partners.
And that partnership includes everyone in our community. For 6 months, we followed the triumphant spirit and struggle of CNN anchorman Tom Cassidy's battle with AIDS, giving a human face to what had been somebody else's nightmare.
When I looked at that AZT pill, what flashed through my mind was when I was a little boy, first Holy Communion. And I said, go for it.
Stories unimaginable a decade ago are now all too common. Stories that have haunted us for decades won't go away.
For the second night in a row, air raid sirens have sounded in Jerusalem, and they're also sounding in Tel Aviv and probably Haifa and all over Israel.
Images that took days to reach us now take seconds.
Satellites were like science fiction. They were out of Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon. Nobody ever thought. And when you think about it, you know, we were so impressed with satellites. What we really should have been impressed with was television.
For television's ability to bring us into stories has redefined journalism. 11,000 children lived in New York City's welfare hotels in 1986. We wanted you to see what they had to endure. Our job was to get inside. Theirs was to keep us out.
You have to leave. Sorry, sir, you can't touch the equipment. No.
Okay, walk it out. Take it out the door. Take it out the door. Let's go.
But with hidden cameras, we brought you the story of no place to call home.
You pulled the knife for me!
The horror that happens in New York can be blood-curdling at times. The beauty that happens in New York can warm you for a lifetime to come.
This is beautiful. I mean, so much support. Boy, you couldn't ask for anything more.
But New York is more than spectacles and canyons of ticker tape. It's the soul of its people that brings this city to life. A soul we brought to you on a story by Maury Alter about a little boy named Scotty.
Here we go. Here we go, Scotty.
Scotty was born 6 weeks early, seemed fine, but 2 months later, for reasons doctors could never explain, there were massive seizures and Scotty stopped moving his limbs, lost his sight, stopped responding. Doctors painted a grim picture for Dick and Dottie Eben.
There was no hope. There was nothing left to be done, and there was no hope for him.
The Ebens refused to accept the doctor's verdict. Dottie quit her job. They recruited neighborhood friends to do something with Scotty called patterning.
Well, what are we doing here?
You're stimulating the cortex of the brain.
Dottie had an idea. A 5-minute car drive away. Some young guys with time on their hands, usually 3 to 6 months of time, at the Greenfield Detention Center.
I was speaking to the superintendent, and she thought it was a wonderful idea.
Come on, Scotty, you gonna push up today? Come on, Scotty. Oh, yeah. Come on, Scotty. Come on, Scotty. Come on.
Dottie taught the boys how to pattern, and voila, not exactly.
First when I saw him, I felt that it was going to be a waste of time.
It was scary, because I never seen nobody like this before. Come on, Scotty, fight it off. There you go.
First time I brought him here, and I watched the boys with him, I got all choked up. I couldn't believe, I wasn't expecting the tenderness.
Big smile.
So mother is happy. The boys seem to enjoy it.
It makes me feel good that I'm helping him out.
And the Greenfield Center has already added a second sick child for regular therapy visits. Seems like good therapy for everybody. Thanks to a kid from Hope Place named Scotty.
Okay, Scotty. Bye-bye. Howdy 5,000.
National and provincial, you're with the pro.
Have you ever wondered what we look like watching TV? The British did, and made this portrait of some average viewers. Not exactly mesmerized, are they? Even if the novelty of television has worn off, the impact certainly has not.
Ed Murrow once said of television, the instrument can teach, it can illuminate, yes, it can even inspire. But it can only do so to the extent that humans are determined to use it to those ends. Otherwise, it's merely lights and wires in a box. Now, we think that Murrow would agree that despite episodes of tastelessness, crass commercial exploitation, bad judgment, that television has done all those things he said it could, and even more. It has done that here in New York, where it was born, and everywhere else it has taken root. Beyond that, it will always be a mirror, not a perfect one, of the ways in which we choose to live. It is certainly much, much more than lights and wires in a box. I'm Jim Jensen.
And I'm Michelle Marsh. Thank you for being with us. Good night.